Our story starts in Brazil, where this group of friends planned out a heist at a shopping mall. They had months to plan it and figured out exactly how it would go down. Their target was this jewelry store right here. They chose this location because it was brand new and they believed it would have plenty of expensive jewelry inside. To make sure of this, one of the men went inside and pretended to be a customer while actually checking out the layout and security measures. Once they were all set, the crew made their way to the mall. This is where things took a turn for the worse. As they got closer, they realized there were way more police officers than expected. They still had to make their move, though, or everything would be ruined. So they went ahead and entered the mall. One of the robbers pulled out a gun and pointed it at the ceiling. Everyone got down on the ground. Thankfully for the crew, the police didn't recognize them and didn't know who they were. After ensuring everyone was down, the robbers started making their way towards the jewelry store. It was all going well until they tripped an alarm. This must have been the dummy alarm because nothing happened. Once they made it to the front of the store, the men started smashing the glass doors. People could be heard screaming in the background. Now we see why this place was chosen. There is no security guards and the cops are preoccupied with what's going on elsewhere in the mall. While one man holds people at gunpoint, another opens the display cases and grabs all the jewelry he can find. Our getaway driver makes his way to the front of the store to let the others know when he is ready to go. One of the men tells him to hold on as he is not done grabbing items from the display cases yet. It seems like forever, but eventually the men are satisfied with the haul and meet up outside. They're going to get into their car and speed away. However, our getaway driver panics. He has never robbed a store before and is scared the cops are gone. Show up any second. He speeds away, crashing through the front doors of the mall. This caused quite the scene as people ran out of the mall in terror. Some of the bricks fell apart and everyone was confused as to what just happened. Back at the jewelry store, alarms are blaring and the employees are wondering what to do. As the dust settles, one of the men takes off running. He's not injured, but he does seem to have dropped something. He looks back and sees a cop chasing after him. Our robber pulls out a gun and fires shots at the officer. He then jumps over a wall and disappears from sight. We don't see what happens next, but I'm willing to bet he didn't make it far. The other two men weren't so lucky. They jumped in the car and sped away, but it wasn't long before they were caught. They were charged with armed robbery and unlawful restraint. Hopefully they'll be locked up for a long time. This crew had a great plan, but things went so horribly wrong that they should have just called it off. A lot of risky moves were made, and none of them really paid off. A good example of this is when one of the men fired his gun at the ceiling. In most movies, this would cause everyone to hit the ground. However, in real life, people would be cautious and start looking around to see who was firing the gun. In the case of this robbery, it seemed to work, but that doesn't mean you should try it yourself. If you want to watch another dangerous robbery, then check out the next video. During a traffic stop, a cop gets robbed at gunpoint. Two cops pull over this guy for imitating a police car. It looked so realistic that they didn't catch on until it was too late. At gunpoint, the driver hands over his weapon, and the passenger gets on the ground. He then orders the driver to get on the ground as well. But the situation starts to take a turn when the driver refuses. The robber goes around the car to try and force him, but the driver fights back. This causes the gun to go off accidentally. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The driver tried to run away, but was caught and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Our next video is from Bolivia. While it's not technically a robbery, these guys had a much better plan. They decided to rob a heavily guarded armored truck. These trucks are designed to withstand attacks from all angles. They even have bulletproof windows and armor plating. Even though it's obvious the men aren't going to get very far, they still decide to attack. They drive their pickup truck straight into the side of the armored truck. However, they didn't calculate on the truck's thick wall. The only thing they managed to do was flatten their tires. They jump out of the car with guns raised. But the guards aren't having it. They open fire immediately, forcing the would-be robbers to retreat. These guys may have had some training, but they clearly underestimated their opponent. You don't mess with an armored truck unless you have heavy firepower. These Bolivian criminals found out the hard way. In our next video, a restaurant owner defends himself against a robber. It looks like a normal day at the restaurant until a man pulls out a knife. He demands all the money from the register and tries to intimidate the employees. One of the workers isn't having it and pulls out his own knife. This causes our robber to back off and leave the store. This employee had every right to defend himself and his co-workers, but he also took a big risk. What if he had been outnumbered? Things could have ended very badly for him. In our final video, we see a group of young men robbing a grocery store. They've obviously watched a ton of YouTube videos and think they're slick. They walk into the store and pull out their weapons. This causes the cashier to freak out and jump over the counter. All three robbers follow her and try to force her to open the register. She struggles at first, but eventually complies. As soon as she hands over the money, the men grab it and make their way to the exit. One of the men notices a man filming him and decides to confront him. They argue for a bit, but our robber just wants to get away. He grabs the phone and runs away from the store. However, he drops it as he runs, and our hero picks it up. This turns out to be the smartest move ever. He calls the cops and gives them a description of the robbers. They were soon caught and charged with robbery. Everyone can agree that robberies are scary, but some are just more ridiculous than others. These crews thought they were smarter than they actually were. Fortunately for them, they were caught and won't be able to rob anyone else anytime soon.